Hello and welcome back to yet another video on AWS series. Today we will be discussing how we can push the changes from our local machine, that is Windows or any machine that you are using, from our local editor that is there in our machine to the AWS environment. Now the purpose of doing this is that we will be doing all our development on our local editor, that's on our Windows machine. So to push the changes to the EC2 environment or any AWS services, so for that we will be using GitHub as our landing area where all the changes will be pushed and the same will be pulled into our AWS environment. So in our last video, we saw how we can launch an EC2 instance. Now the next step is to push all the changes from our local environment to that instance. For that to happen, what we need to require is that we need to add the SSH keys in our GitHub repo. Now what are SSH keys? SSH keys are basically used to connect and authenticate our servers. Using SSH keys, it doesn't require us to enter the username or personal access token every time we are visiting. We are doing the push-pull changes from our local environment. So once the SSH keys are added to our GitHub repo, we do not need to enter our username or password or any token again and again. We will be setting the SSH keys and let's see how that happens. If I go to this link, I will paste this link in the description. The first step that it asks us to do is that check if there is any existing SSH keys or not. Since we are creating for the first time, we will be generating a new SSH key. For that we will copy the commands from this web page and do the same in our local editor. I will click on this terminal and new terminal. I will go to the bash option. So this bash option comes when we have already installed Git in our local machine. So it is required that Git is already installed in our machine, and if not, we can use the Windows commands also. So I will paste that link and you can enter email ID that you want. Now it will ask us the location where we want to keep our SSH files. Either we can change the location or we will just press the enter key to have the default locations or default options as it is. What this step does is that it creates a new SSH using the email provided as the label. Now next step is to start the SSH agent in the background. We will copy that and paste it in our machine and run it. So we are using Visual Studio Code Editor to do all the changes in our local machine. Now the key that we generated earlier, we will add that SSH key to the SSH agent. Now the next step, it is asking us to add that SSH key that we have just created to our GitHub account. For that we will click on this adding a new SSH key, check whether it is Windows or Linux. Since we are using Git, we will be clicking on Linux. We will go down here. Then it is asking us to run this command. Cat option will show us the key that we have. I will copy this key and we have to paste that key that we have just copied to our GitHub account. So I have already created this GitHub repo AWS YT series. You can check that in the description. We will go to settings, click on SSH keys, click on new SSH key. We will give a title demo1. Keep the key type as authentication key, paste the SSH key that we have copied and click on add SSH key. Then it will ask us the password. So it's just for the first time confirmation, it will not ask us the password again and again. So this is how we have added the demo1 SSH key that will be used to authenticate that whether the changes that is getting pushed into our GitHub repo from our local environment is correct. So this SSH key will be used to connect our local environment to the GitHub repo. Now there could be another option. If you are working in any organization, it will ask us to configure the SSO. So that's another step. If that is being asked in your machine, click on authorize. Now since our SSH key has been added to our GitHub environment, we will run some GitHub commands to clone that repo in our local environment. I will go to my Visual Studio Code, click on open folder and select the folder location where we want to have all our development. Now once we select this folder, go to terminal, go to bash. Now there are some git commands that we can use to copy the git repo. Now another thing to notice here is that we will not be working on the main branch. We will be working on our separate branch. So suppose if you want to create your own branch, you can name anything that you want, develop test, and click on this create branch. Now what will happen is that a new branch will be created. We can do all our changes in this branch and create a pull request once all the changes are done, and those changes will be merged with the main branch. Word of caution, we'll never do changes directly into the main branch. We work in our own branch. So once I have created my own branch, I will click on this code. I will check whether this HTTPS is clicked or not, and I will copy this HTTPS link, go to my Visual Studio and paste that URL. Now it has copied the GitHub repo to our local environment. Now once we have cloned our GitHub repo to our local environment, the next step is to switch to our branch. For that I will click on this main, and then it will give me some options. Over here I will search for my branch. Currently I am using develop test. Once I click on it, as you can see, from main it has got changed to develop test. Now we can do our changes over here. We will add a simple Python script, hello.py. We will add a comment. This is for demo purpose. Print hello world. Now once we have written our Python script, as you can see over here, it is showing us what changes have been done in this branch. Now to push these changes in our GitHub repo, we need to follow some steps. Either we can use the terminal or we can use the UI that has been provided by Visual Editor. So for once I will use the git commands, and later down in our series when we are again using our Visual Editor, we will be using the UI itself, so that you are acquainted with both these steps. Now git status command, what it does is that it tells us how many files are untracked currently. To change it to tracked files, I will run this command git add, and if I again run git status, as you can see the color of our Python script has changed from red to green, which means that the changes have now been tracked. After git add, I will run git commit. First Python script, then I will run git push. Now once we run this git push command, it will push all our changes that we have on our local machine to our particular git repo that we have created. So we created this script, and now this script has been pushed into our GitHub repo. Now we want this script to run on our EC2 machine. So for that, the same steps that we followed to create the SSH keys to connect our local environment to our GitHub repo, the same step we have to follow for our EC2 machine too. So for that, I'll go to my EC2 dashboard, click on my public IP, go to my putty, I will paste that public IP, go for authorization, click on our PPK file. We will save this session as demo test, save. So I will click on this demo test, load, and then open. I will give EC2-user. We will follow the same steps that we did last time to create the SSH keys. We will give our ID. Now it is asking us the same questions that it asked us while we were creating the SSH keys in our local machine. So I'll just press on enter. So these steps are same like we did in our Windows machine. Now in the next step, it is asking us to add our SSH private key to the SSH agent. After that, we will run this command. We will replace the name of the public key with the name of the key that we have. So I have kept the name of the public key as ID RSA. Now after running this command, it is giving us a warning that it is an unprotected private key file. So to remove this, we will run this command chmod 400 and the location of the public file. So over here we are changing the permission of our public key, and we are passing the location of our public key, that where it is located. After this, we will run this cat command. And we'll copy this public key and go to our Git repo, click on the settings, go to your SSH and GPG keys, again click on new SSH key. We will give a new name so that it is easily identifiable. We will give it as EC2 GitHub and paste that key over here. as you can see, we have added two SSH keys. Now the one will be used to push our changes from our local repo to the GitHub repo, and the another one will be used to push and pull the changes from our GitHub repo to our EC2 instance. So we set up two SSH keys for our purpose. Now we will pull all the changes that we have in our Git repo to our EC2 instance. We will go to our repository, click on this code SSH, copy this, we will paste that over here. Now as you can see, it is saying that the git command is not found. So for this to happen, we need to install git library in our EC2 machine. So we ran that command sudo yum install git. Now it is installing the git library in our machine. We will run git clone again. Now it is asking us whether we want to connect or not. We will enter yes. Now if I run ls, you can see a new folder has been created, AWS YT_series. I will enter into this folder. You must be wondering why that Python script has not yet come in our repo. It's because we have not yet merged our changes in our main branch. So if I enter this git branch, it will show us that which branch name this repo is currently pointing to. So for our branch to be reflected over here, so for the first time we have to create it in EC2 instance, and command for that is git checkout -b, the name of the branch. Now the name of the branch that we are giving over here should be same as the one that we have created in our GitHub repo, which is develop test. I run again that git branch command. A new branch is showing us and that branch is green. So this color change signifies is that the green colored branch denotes the branch that this repo is currently pointing to. Now if I run again ls command, it will not show us any Python script. Now to pull all the changes that we have in our develop test branch, I have to run this command and then run git pull. So for the first time, if we are pulling the changes from a new branch, we have to run this command, which is git branch set upstream develop test. After that, we have to run this git pull command, which will pull all the changes that are there in our git repo. So if I run ls command again, it is showing us our Python script. I can run that Python script. It is showing us hello world. So we did two things in this lecture. So we connected our local editor to our GitHub repo and we pushed some changes, and the second thing we did is that we did the same connection from our EC2 instance to our GitHub repo, and we pulled all our changes from the repo to our machine and we ran our Python script. So this is how we will be developing the projects. We will be doing all our changes in our local machine and pushing all the changes to our EC2 instance using GitHub repo. I hope you have got some insights how to connect the three things together. That's all we have in this lecture. See you in the next one. Have a good day and take care.